So about 2 weeks ago, or at least I think it was last week when you guys had the show and I fell asleep. I was sitting on this
Thanks a lot, Connor.
sitting on this fucking weird dream that I had that I knew you all had to hear about as soon as I woke up. Usually I can't remember these things because they just fade away as soon as it happened. But I sat up and just kind of stared off into the distance for a second. It was like, I don't know what the fuck that was. And the best way I can summarize this is that I'm a manager of a Swiss metal band. Don't worry, that doesn't become relevant ever again in the story. But that's how this set up. And they're doing some kind of show.
Now I'm going to have some questions for you because how did you know you were the manager of a Swiss metal band? Did someone say this to you, or was it just ingrained knowledge within the realm of this?
You were feeling the vibe.
I was either a manager or a roadie. I don't think I could tell.
Now,
okay.
I have another level of questions. Was it because you only knew, because in your dream, of course, you know German or French, which are the two languages of Switzerland. But that could have made you a Belgian. That could have made you French. That could have made you German.
I have a question. I have a question.
Okay.
I have a question. Before we move on. How many green M&Ms?
I don't know, but food
just
is
how many green M&Ms?
How many do they need?
Only green M&Ms.
Oh.
But at some point they're setting up, and I'm just like, I'm really hungry. So I leave the venue, and the venue is in this gigantic labyrinthian back rooms looking mall, like a super mall. And I leave, and I am promptly lost, and I'm very hungry. And for some reason, the only thing I want, hyper specifically, is a sausage McMuffin from McDonald's.
Oh, I was hoping you were going to say Dippin' Dots. It's the ice cream of the future.
In a mall, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
And I can't find them anywhere. And for some reason, I won't just stop and grab something from anybody. And I'm going deeper into the guts of this mall to the point where, like, the whole band thing became a fucking plot of, yesteryear. It didn't matter anymore. I had no way of getting back to them even if I tried. But the whole thing crescendos with me finding, for whatever reason, a McDonald's kiosk stand run by two little Asian women.
That sounds correct for a mall.
Just very slowly. And I'm standing behind the counter, and I'm watching them prepare this item, one item at a time, very slowly, and I'm losing my patience. And then they put the sandwich together, and I woke up.
Well, on first passover of this idea from the dream, it sounds like you were trying to contemporize the story of Hotel California as made famous by the Eagles. Yeah.
I think I went to bed really fucking hungry, and my dumb junk food brain was like, McMuffin!
That could have been it too.
You also could have been sleepwalking because, again, this is a theme of today, as my parents have described it. Vegas is just like one giant mall. Apparently, they've shown me videos of them just going around and finding blind corners like you find in malls, where it's like, what is this? Why is this here?
See, you joke, but there's a casino here where you walk into a big room and you're like, why am I outside, but also I'm inside? There's a casino there's a whole section of it that's designed to look like Venice. And there's a gondola, and there's a fake sky, and there's little bridges, and it's lit like it would be if it was outside in like broad daylight. And like if it's 2 in the morning, you step in this room, you're like, what the fuck is this? Like,
yeah.
It's the saddest. It's the saddest like attempt at like a what's it called, like a dark ride type thing where you're just in a gondola and you go around and there's nothing there.
Yeah,
my favorite is the one. My favorite is the one where my parents they stayed at a hotel they stayed at the New York themed one. And it's the saddest shit. Yeah, New York, and it's just like. None of this is reflective of New York. Again, from what they've said,
it's like,
outside is closer to New York than
some
actual.
Of it is like America Town from that episode of The Simpsons, where it's just
that's what I was thinking.
Yes.
Yes.
Hello, welcome to American Town. I am Average American Joe.
But they told me that they go outside and it's like the CD seller concept is alive in Vegas, which is a thing that I know distinctly from New York.
Yes.
You want CD? That is a thing that exists strong in Vegas as well.
There are guys who walk around with a backpack that's got a fucking amp in it, and they'll just hand out demo CDs for like local hip hop artists. They won't be like, "Hey, do you want a CD?" They're like, "Here's a CD," and they will walk away from you.
You go to any hip hop show of any like known artist, and you'll just have like a flock of those dudes.
Right.
Yeah. But in between some of them, you'll find like Captain America fighting Barney the Dinosaur over a spot of 5 foot long sidewalk. And then you'll have a guy who's got a big fucking sign saying the end is near. And he also has an amplifier, but it's for his microphone, so we can tell you how you're all vile sinners.
Oh, I wonder if he knows the guy who was walking down my street on Wednesday.
I went out to Ashley once, one of the first years I was here. She was basically taking me on the trip, and she all night for some reason was collecting these little like stripper calling cards they hand out, basically too. Like they just hand out like little ads for strip clubs and stuff. And she was collecting these for like an hour. And one of these dudes walked up to her, and she just flicks these cards in his face.
That's pretty solid.
I love the idea of strippers leaving like Phantom Thief-esque calling cards, like they're going to like perform a heist, steal a diamond or some shit.
They will strike again.
I mean, I imagine some people have gotten really clever and they're just doing like stickers with QR codes now. That must be a thing.
All of it, like with CDs, all of it has to feel like it's 20 years past date. Like, so QR codes be like 2050.
Where do the QR codes lead? Like, why does a stripper need a website?
Hunter, you're saying this as if you've never subscribed to an OnlyFans, and we know that you'd be lying.
It's just a big ARG. That's all it is.
It leads to a YouTube channel with a video of the moon.
Exactly. Yeah, it leads to Frog Fractions 3.
Oh my god, yes, please.
It leads to all the answers to Cloverfield ARG.
Oh god. God, there was no answer to that. That was just
it was all a bunch of loose ends they made you look for, and I looked for every fucking one of those things.
See, that's the thing. I fucking ate that up. Like when Cloverfield was like just mentioned, and like there were little bits and pieces coming out, and then like they had the site that had that picture that would slowly become more and more of a reveal of what it was, and then you could flip over the picture, and there were other things that had audio. It was so great. I fucking loved it. I went to it every day.
And then they made me watch little videos of that fucking party where you follow that one blonde chick around for a bit, and then you find out in the movie she's there for literally 2 seconds. And that's it.
Man.
And it goes absolutely fucking nowhere.
It's the best.
It was supposed to be like the company that the main character is working for was somehow responsible for like waking the monster up and all this other stuff, but like none of it's really confirmed or there's any hard proof of it anywhere.
Nope, that's the inherent fault of the mystery box. Thank you, J.J. Abrams.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. And some of this stuff can be done well, but like there are so few examples of doing it well to the point where like that kind of viral marketing, it doesn't really happen anymore. They've kind of slowed down. A few things happen, but like it is a thing of like, I feel like they tried to do this for the Batman. I feel like there were like websites where it's like go here and see the Riddler and like it's like I'm not doing that.
every like mystery or riddle to solve or whatever, the outcome is always like go see the movie. Fuck you. I am seeing the movie already.
Well, so like what I'm talking about the Riddler, I think you went to that site and you just got like audio that's in the movie, and I'm like, okay, what was the point of this? What was
the ARG with Batman? The Batman also revealed that footage of Irish McIrish dude being the Joker. That was the original way they wanted you to reveal it. Yeah.
So there's there's a horror movie that decided to use this idea in a way that no one has used since, because I'm sure it torpedoed everything about it. It was a found footage movie
Mhm.
called The
The
Devil
Vatican
Inside, I think.
tapes or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, was it the Vatican tapes?
No,
Yeah,
it
we
was
Pope's
Devil
actually-
Inside,
Exorcist.
and it was
It's
basically
funny because
the movie ends with a jump cut to black
Yeah.
and a link.
That is
Right.
so
There's
lame.
this
No
up
ending,
because-
and basically the implication was go online to watch the ending. It's a trailer.
Mhm.
it's funny
Oh, okay.
you bring this up because I just listened to an older episode where we were talking about this exact movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that website
'cause I-
it no longer exists. So even if you were to watch the movie and go to it, there's nothing.
I just
Why would you want to?
Exactly.
right. Well, like, so I'm like, sometimes I'm like scrounging. I'm like, okay, what movie should I watch tonight? And I come across that movie, and I'm like, no.
No,
And I seriously consider it for a minute, but I'm like,
never.
oh wait, that's that one. Not happening. No, thank you. Bye. I'll consider this much lower budget, like weird Amazon, straight to Amazon movie before this because at least that will.
I never saw what was that
Well-
movie? The Vatican tapes.
I guess I don't know. There were so many like this is the movie based on a story that somebody heard from a janitor who knows somebody who visited the
They
Vatican.
heard
Well-
through the
Also,
walls.
We've had
Yeah.
we've had so many exorcism movies that are like, this is the last exorcism movie you ever need to see, including The Last Exorcist and
Which
The
is the
Last
one I
Exorcist
liked.
2.
Yes.
Well,
And
well,
The
we
Last
are going to.
Exorcist
We're about to enter the Russellverse with the post exorcist.
Okay,
So
wait,
like,
hold on. I watched Mr. Gigi review that movie, and it sounds fucking insane, but not good at all.
Just here's the thing.
I
I would like
saw-
to say just.
I saw a clip of Russell Crowe sitting on like a throne and like using magic or some shit from that movie.
I guess
Yes.
every once in a while they just jump cut to Russell Crowe's character just riding a Vespa, and the way Gigi described it was like it's a nice little breather. It's like watching a golden retriever swim in a pond.
I can't believe that's based off that Father Amorth guy. Fucking.
Oh, that douchebag.
Which this is an experience I believe only me and Eric have had up to this point still, of like watching a documentary directed by one of the greatest directors of the 70s where he's just showing his ass entirely, that he is a
Oh,
crazy
no.
person.
No, Hunter saw that as well.
I did watch
Hunter,
that.
did you
Yeah.
see it? You did
Yeah, I
watch that,
did.
yes. Devil and Father Amorth, for those who don't remember the movie. And it's just like, are you saying that you really believe this man is an exorcist and this woman who clearly has mental illness is possessed by a demon? Is that what you, the director of this
Yeah.
movie, is saying?
Connor, if
To
you
me.
didn't know, it was William Friedkin who directed this.
Yes.
I've heard about this
Oh.
because that came up during his review because he was talking about the
Right.
weird snake eating its own tail situation with these fucking movies. Like we have The Exorcist, and then we have this movie, and then we have this movie, and then we have this documentary, and now we
Right.
have the Russell Crowe movie. Like,
Yeah. Well, and also, so that movie, that Anthony Hopkins movie from like 10 years ago, The Right,
Right.
is also based off of Father Amorth.
Yeah.
Which is
So weird.
So
It's
this
so
guy's just
weird.
been peddling his bullshit for a while then.
yeah,
Yeah.
like he keeps on getting movies based off of him, and it's like,
him and Travis Walton.
My my memory of Father Amorth is the neuroscientist coming on and being like, "Well, I have no scientific proof it's not an exorcist." And then it
that was one of the standout moments. It's that, and the thing that me and Eric we were debating for a while is whether or not the audio that Friedkin shows as like his proof was like edited or not, and I still think it was edited.
I'd have to watch it again, but
If we got a slew of like Fire in the Sky knockoffs like every 5 years,
I mean,
Well-
we probably do. They're not
Yeah.
far
They're not-
enough up on the radar.
they're not. No,
Yeah,
no.
like,
No.
like,
they're
'cause,
all on Amazon, Connor.
like,
Yes, the government. Yeah, the government has also like dismantled any semblance of care for those viewpoints. They've like thoroughly. Richard Doty has done his job of like making sure that UFO people are disbelieved around every single turn.
Yeah, but
whether
then
or
they
not-
but then
Yeah.
the U.S. government released all the UFO stuff to the public. So I don't know. It's
well,
it's all a great big
Go ahead,
psyop.
make people care now, but
You
we
get it.
fucking don't.
Yeah.
Well, because that's the thing. Conspiracy circles will tell you, well, those are fake too. They'll, like, if you go down the conspiracy hole long enough, it's like, is it all fake? Has Richard Doty stopped being a disinformation agent? And for those that don't know that name, that's the guy who was going around in the 80s, like giving every prominent UFO person misinformation.
Yeah.
And they were just like repeating it with no research, no double checking. And that's how the UFO movement was thoroughly disgraced
I can disgrace the USO movement very easily. When I was a SEAL beret, I met some aliens, and they remind me, well, I can't use this term anymore because everybody's so woke. But the aliens were like a bunch of bundles of sticks, if you know what I
Definitely an
mean.
alien who tried to assassinate workers' rights in the WWF.
Did I tell you about my Cane Corsos?
So, what has everybody been watching and playing? And I think, Hunter, you should lead this off because you have some stuff that we've all seen, but I'd like to hear your reaction / perspective on.
So I've been playing a lot of Steam Deck because I bought a Steam Deck. Hold your applause. Steam Deck's great. It's the best little device I own, to be honest with you.
Yes, it's wonderful.
So I've been playing a couple things. Right now I'm playing Ultimate Battle Network, which is awesome. Great game. I don't have much to say about that. More so than I have much to say about Resident Evil 4 Remake, because that game is phenomenal, and it's like Game of the Year already.
That's impressive.
That game's fucking awesome.
I've only heard good things from every person that I know, so yeah, that's...
I'm actually waiting to see if it goes on sale in the summer sale for Steam, because I've heard it runs really well on the deck, and I'm kind of at a point now where I'm like, yeah, I'll play my Xbox at some point.
I'm also, by the way, like, I'm down to I got rid of the Xbox and the PS4, so now I'm down to a single console. Because like the Xbox was just collecting dust, and I think the external drive I had took a shit. I was like, it's probably a sign.
Probably.
Yeah.
It probably did.
I also wasn't playing anything on there, and like anything I could play, I can play on here or look and run a lot better. But seeing the games are now $70, I won't have my attention span spread out quite as much as it used to with when you have a console that has 3 generations worth of purchases on it. Now I can have like singular focus on one game at a time for a while. And I'll get to Resident Evil 4 when I fucking get to it.
Well,
I mean, you still gotta play 8. You gotta.
I haven't played 7 or 8 yet. I started 7. I have not finished 7.
Hunter, the main reason I wanted you to lead was because I know you saw 2 pretty big movies that came out last year.
Yeah. So I watched 2 big movies recently, and I watched Megan, which I kind of hate that movie.
Yeah.
It did. I'll say this all about Megan. It's a cool, like, I felt like it was kind of like a setup to Chucky in a lot of ways.
Exactly,
like the child's play, like
trailer. I'm like, this is a very contemporary looking Chucky. Like,
even
it feels like they're paying homage to it.
Yeah, a Chucky, or even like a Chucky with a little bit of RoboCop in there. I would have liked a little bit more RoboCop personally.
I don't know. I had fun with Megan. I mean, I went in expecting absolutely nothing, and it gave me a little bit of something, so I had a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would say it did all the basic stuff well enough. I would have gone for a little bit better than the basic stuff. Yeah. So, but yeah.
The 2 big movies.
It's hard to come back from *Malignant* and the shit in that movie being as unhinged as it is, and then be like, kill a robot doll. It's like, we don't have a backwards man throwing fucking police chairs across the room.
I saw a clip from *Malignant* that like sold me on it so hard. I can't. I don't have the context for it, but it looked so fucking rad.
Yeah,
it was like a fight. It was a fight scene in like a horror movie. I was like, that's cool as hell.
Yeah, there's full on kung fu scenes in the middle of that movie.
Where it's like fucking cool.
Yeah, exactly.
But yes, Hunter, the movies you watched.
Oh yeah, so I watched first. I watched Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is amazing.
Yes.
So fucking good.
Yes.
The pinnacle.
It's
I really loved it.
Yeah, it's something that like my wife and I wanted to see just based on the trailers, and like seeing it in the theater, it was fucking immaculate.
One
like
teaser
that
was all I needed. I'm like, this is my shit. And I waited for that very patiently. And yeah, I think probably I can't speak for Eric, but I think all of us probably had a moment where we're just like,
oh yeah, multiple ones.
I have never like
many times.
K-Hui, is it K-Hui Kwan? I think his name is.
Yeah.
That guy is precious, and if anyone hurts him, I will destroy him.
Yeah, he must be protected.
Yeah, like, at all costs.
Did you hear about the stories when he saw Harrison Ford backstage at the Oscars? Like I believe it was the Oscars.
I know this story.
And Harrison noted grump and hateful person.
Lit up like a fucking Christmas tree at the sight of this guy.
Well, because he... Well, this has happened a couple times where it's like D23 or the Oscars, and they
I think it was D23 is the one I'm thinking of. But where he was, just apparently all he did was say like short round, and he said yes, Indiana, and then ran over and they hugged each other, and that's the cutest thing ever.
And it's a running bit now where whenever they see each other, they take a picture, and they're like, "Saw an old friend again," or something like that. Yeah. Well, also, this is the thing we've talked about a few times. Harrison is in his charming old grandpa mode, where he's trying not to be so grumpy.
Or he realizes he's
dying.
Exactly. I kind of wonder, is he dying? Is that why he's doing it?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think a Marvel movie where he might become a giant red rage monster. Like it.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's the weed, honestly. It's like the weed is becoming like Prozac. It took like a decade or so to build up, and now he's mellowing out.
And he's just and Callista's mega esophagus hasn't gotten any better.
I would say he probably found chemicals.
God damn it.
I love that is lore now for the show.
Callista Flockhart. She's Nancy Reagan-esque.
So, what was anything else you wanted to say about Everything Everywhere All at Once?
Also, Jamie Lee Curtis playing the most like recognized. Like that character is so. I don't know about the relatable is the word, but I've met people exactly like that.
I have. I can. The only thing I could do was just be astonished at at how schlubby and just like normal she was willing to look for that movie. I'm like, man, she doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Like she's like
sniffling
and looking like
she usually looks great. Like she's like an attractive older woman, so it's like she looks like total shit in that movie.
Yeah, she looks like every like middle-aged mom or late middle-aged mom.
And then to watch her start mimicking pro wrestling and start doing those mannerisms, I'm like, she's so good. I didn't know she had this in her.
So good.
Yeah.
There's an interview you can find with Michelle Yeoh where she gets like legit emotional because she says like it's taken years for anyone to give her any opportunity at all to do something that actually has some range to it. So she was really happy when she got this, and hearing that I was like, that sucks because you're fucking awesome. Like it's shameful.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she's a woman.
And she's
and that's and exactly, and she's over the age of 40. Like that is like death knell in Hollywood.
Disgusting.
Exactly.
And just disgusting. Yes. And it is weird. Like knowing that the role was originally Jackie Chan's is still baffling to me.
Oh my god!
I don't know how that would work.
Would that be terrible?
Yeah, because he's not as good of an actor. Like he's just not.
He's
like
not.
He has moments. There have been moments where I've seen him do some of his more recent stuff. That movie, I don't remember the name of it. The Betrayer or something, where he's in Ireland, and it's him versus Pierce Brosnan. Like he has these. do you not remember this movie? It's a while ago. Like his kid gets blown up by the IRA, and he's going
This
to Ireland.
sounds
That's not funny.
insane.
Yeah. and he's like going after like the head of the Irish government to be like, you know who killed my daughter? You're gonna tell, and it's like a very like goofy action movie plot, but he is like doing some serious acting in it. And my feeling of it was like, okay, I can tell he's trying. I can tell he's
time
putting in
I
some
recall
effort here.
from his career that I saw, like where he was given material that I thought was very atypical of him, was that Karate Kid reboot, where his arc is that he keeps the car that he murdered his family with in a drunken stupor in his living room and sits in every once in a while and just cries to himself. I'm like, that is really dark and probably shouldn't be in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Why is Jaden Smith here?
But anyway,
he's just holding the wheel, sobbing to himself. I'm like, this maybe should be in a different movie.
Yeah, probably shouldn't be in a reboot of the Karate Kid.
People have already forgotten.
But yeah, like he's. I think that, but here's the thing: I understand from, how am I forgetting their names? The Daniels. I understand from the Daniels' perspective, like going to him first, but like. Michelle Yeoh just makes entirely more sense, just objectively. Like, she's a better actor, I would say, but just as competent with the martial arts and stuff. I mean, yeah, just it makes entirely much sense. And it is weird that, like, nobody else thought to give her a role like that before this. Is pretty wild. Yeah.
I mean, she convinced me she could kick the shit out of me, so...
Yeah.
Handedly. Also, Keith
I've never been
kicked the shit out of me too.
I've never been more emotional over googly eyes before. You know what I mean? Like that like it's weird.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I think that they really mastered in that movie is like the balance of goofy and poignant.
Well, I was
which for me,
right after my first experience with it, I was like, this movie had no qualms with like building me up with something really silly and funny and like charming, and then just punching you right in the stomach with something 5 minutes later, but then picking you back up again, only to punch you again.
Well, or even just like layering them on top of each other, like Hunter's saying, the googly eye. It's just like very poignant moment, googly eye. Like just, it's something that I think that they really mastered in that movie, and it didn't work for me in the Daniel Radcliffe Paul Dano film.
Swiss Army Man.
Yeah, like it just didn't connect with me in the same way. They were trying to do the same thing. I know they talked about this. Where like they're going for that, and that's the tone that they're trying to strike. And I don't know. And then it didn't work for me in that film, but in this, I think they just mastered like this skill that they have.
Well, that and
I'm very excited to see them.
What I loved about this is that like
it
it throws a question at you, like if you could perceive, every possible line in life you could have ever lived, does all of it matter, or is it just fucking meaningless? And that's the whole thing with joy. The bagel being, nothingness, I guess. I also love that the big like central like item that represents all the evil in this is just a big fucking bagel.
Yeah, it's the meaning that you put on it. Yeah, exactly. It's just I think we talked about this movie every other episode, but because it's just one of those.
It's just that good.
Back to it.
Yeah,
exactly.
I also watched Nope.
God of War 2018 last week and have been playing Ragnarok. I'm not going to say much about Ragnarok. I know Eric hasn't played it yet, but holy shit, those are. I'm glad I picked those two as like some of my first experiences with like a next gen console. Also,
Connor, before we get into this, Hunter actually did have one other thing that he wanted to bring up, which
I also watched Nope, which was fucking awesome, and also one of the most terrifying movies I watched in a long time.
Nope is
How did you? Go ahead.
So I do want to say, like, just like spoilers, but like Jean Jacket, like the idea of Jean Jacket is scary, but also like they show you people getting digested in Jean Jacket, and it's like, oh, that's a new fear I have. Thank you for that.
It was a new turn on for me.
Honestly, they got me to the bone when they were like, that cloud hasn't moved in 3 days. I'm like, that would fuck me up so bad. You have no idea. Okay, I would question everything I did in the past 72 hours.
Yeah. It's just,
I really loved how much you could see that oh god, why am I blanking on the director's name? Jordan Peele. How much Jordan Peele loves anime.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
that Akira bike slide
very
was
obvious.
blatant.
It was awesome.
And
just the design of Jean Jacket when fully revealed looked like one of the angels from Evangelion.
He's a fucking Evangelion monster.
Yes, it was awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Also, any movie that gives my boy, oh shit, I'm forgetting his name.
Daniel Kaluuya, is that his name? No.
Are you talking about Glenn? Are you talking about
You're talking about Swordsman.
Talking about Swordsman from Robin Hood. And The Crow.
Oh yes.
Oh, Michael something.
Yes.
Shit.
Who didn't?
Michael
I don't
Wincott.
think he didn't have a sword in that movie, but this is my guarantee is he stole that camera. If Jordan didn't take it, he stole the camera. And that's his because that's his sword in the movie. Yeah,
he is a human equivalent of a Marlboro. You know what I mean? Like he's like if like a Marlboro cigarette grew hands and legs.
Yeah, you see him laying on the side of the road next to a bus stop. You're like, yeah, this fits. This makes sense.
With you saying he stole that camera, yes, he stole the camera, but he had it melted down and reforged into a sword.
Yes, yes, that makes sense.
Yeah,
but he kept just enough of it visible so you can tell it is the camera.
Part of the lens is the pommel.
I was just about to say
that's
the pommel is like.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he can say something pithy like "I see you" before he stabs
is made of like loose film.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
like
somewhere in the distance, Elijah Wood is there with his broadsword.
Oh yeah. So, what did you think about the whole stuff with Gordy in that movie?
I really like that. I thought. Yeah, that's also terrifying. Because chimpanzees are terrifying and should not be fucked with.
I mean, I've been scared of chimps for a very long time. I've known that chimps are fucking terrifying, but seeing it visualized.
That's what it was. It's the visual and the visual, and then what they didn't show you, and what you're hearing, and what is implied. That really fucked me up because I've heard the 911 from the woman who got her face ripped off, and that is really horrifying. Because in the background,
not good.
Insane, and this woman is reacting in real time to everything it's doing. At some point, she just starts to gag, and you can hear the breath leaving her body. She's so fucking shocked at what he's doing. Like at some point, he's just like, he's eating her. And just I don't know, you'd think there's a party who's like, no, I'd get away from a chimp. Nah.
No,
that thing could jump off walls.
Steven.
I'm trying to think of what
character is saved by the tablecloth. Yeah. That's what keeps him from dying. Is the tablecloth is blocking his eyes enough. It's like, oh god.
The whole time you were talking about that phone call or the 911 call of he's eating her face and all that. All I could think of is which bad edgy techno band from the 90s should have used that for a remix for a song.
Combi Christ.
I think what makes Gordy even more terrifying is that there's actually a survivor, and you don't see her face, but you know what she looks like underneath that.
Yeah, you just these little light glimpses, and it's like, oh my god, she is fucked.
Nothing left.
Fucked up for life.
Yeah,
well, that's the Gordy stuff too. I love how it's the entire movie is also talking about hey, maybe people shouldn't be using animals for profit. Like
Yeah.
it's such a well done metaphor that you don't really think
you
about
can't
it until a
exploit
little
these
bit
things.
later.
Well, I mean, you can, but after a while, that exploitation is gonna have like a price to pay.
Yeah.
You're
in blood,
gonna pay the
essentially. Yeah,
price.
you're gonna pay the price.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it made me
Yep.
even thought, like, after I saw it
You're
the first
gonna
time, I
get
was
bitten
like,
in the
are we
ass real
using
hard.
chimps at all in Hollywood? Because if we are, we fucking shouldn't be. And
Yeah.
now I think we're at a
I
point
don't.
where, like,
I
we're barely
think
using
not
them
really.
dogs.
Yeah.
Well,
I
it's
think that
see,
yeah. Well, even dogs are like like a weird like half in, half out situation right now, where it's
Yeah.
like Disney is all in on CG dogs. Like they've done so many CG dogs that you don't realize are CG dogs at this point.
Until you
It's
see that
like,
one picture of Harrison
shit,
Ford
that
nuzzling
dog?
a man in a fucking mocap suit.
Yes, with the Jack London adaptation.
that should be the
unsettling.
cover photo of this episode. Yeah, I'm actually all in favor of CG animals because like we really shouldn't be fucking around with like
Yeah.
bears and
There's
shit.
no reason outside of the dogs, and this is why I say I'm fine with keeping the dogs because dogs don't care. They're just there to
Yeah.
have fun, as long as you're not
They're
drowning them
happy to
like
be
the
there.
dog's purpose. But every other animal is like, what the fuck is this? Why the fuck am I here? Why are you
Do
doing
you
this?
need a bear on set? Do you need a grizzly bear on set?
Yeah, or even just smaller. Do you really need a snake? Do you actually? It's like, yeah, it's just, yeah, but yeah, it is weird. But like, also on the chimp thing, Weta is so like god tier with chimps at this point, where it's like, you wouldn't need a chimp if you wanted a chimp. You could just go to Weta and they'll be like, oh yeah, we have the chimp. Oh, it's also, we're not gonna like be lazy with the chimp. Our chimp is gonna look better than the chimps that we did in those Planet of the Apes movies, which were already like god
Yeah,
tier
which
level.
are already just like so
then,
uncanny. You
and-
look right past. You're like, yeah, it's a fucking monkey.
Well,
I
that was also
the
Andy Serkis.
I love the idea of $5 hot and ready chimp CG chimps. Like you just go to Weta, they're like, yeah, we got a chimp. We just made it.
well, no. So Eric, to your point though, Gordy is one of the three main chimps from those Apes movies. He's one of the same performers. Like
If it's
there's
not
a lineage
Andy,
of
if it's not a boy, the guy who played Cobra,
yeah, one dude.
it's probably the guy who played Rocket, because that's the one that Andy,
Yes.
other people have
Steve-
said have basically talked about.
Steve Zahn didn't do that?
Huh?
Steve Zahn didn't do the mocap for that? Or was
No,
that just like,
Steve Zahn did his mocap
Yes.
for his character, but Rocket is the guy from he's all the way in the first movie.
Yeah,
I
he's
think,
one of the
actually.
first
He's
smart.
the-
I think he's the one that challenges Caesar initially for dominance, then Caesar beats him.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
when
yeah,
he's-
yeah, I remember now,
yeah, like he's that guy, and like it's the same guy, and he's the guy now that they bring in to do other ape stuff, like in Umbrella Academy. I'm pretty sure that's him.
Okay, that
I
would
think
make
he was
I'm not
sense.
also on the
mistaken.
Graham Norton Effect with
Um,
Tom Holland, and he showed Tom how to use those little rigs, and of course Tom Holland is just fucking magical and just picks it up right away.
Of course. Well, Tom Holland was a dancer,
exactly.
so he
Right.
understands. Yeah.
Yeah, that totally tracks. But yeah, like it's a lineage with Weta where it's like, yeah, we just have this guy and bring him in, and he's like, and he like whenever they're trying to do chimps in other CG movies and they don't need him or he doesn't like fit the role, he's the one that they bring in to teach other people how to be chimps if Andy isn't available to teach somebody how to be a chimp. Like, yeah, so it's like really easy to get a chimp in your movie as long as you have the money. And there's no reason to get somebody from like an animal reserve to like bring their chimp that they've like mistreated for 20 years. Yeah, it's just, no reason whatsoever. Anyway, we don't have to keep on talking about chimps.
What else did you want to say about Nope, if anything, Hunter?
I already forgot the actor's name. Is it Dan Kaluuya?
Daniel Kaluuya.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, so he does a lot of great acting with just his eyes.
With almost nothing but his eyes.
Because like
He
the
barely
whole
moves.
time. Yeah, it's like shell shock he has on his face. It's
Well, it's
amazing.
that and
It
like
looks-
when the I'm assuming where the movie's title comes from is when he's in his car and the thing's above him. He's like, nope. He's
Yeah,
doing
he's
a
like, nope.
lot by not
Yeah.
reacting to anything. I'm like, he's showing how much of a fucking
Yeah.
wizard he is with these animals by knowing exactly how to assess this thing, even though it's the first encounter he's ever had with it. Because he understands wild animal instincts, and he's like, no, I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
Like, I know exactly what this is.
Well, I've pointed this out, and I guess I've actually gotten surprising reactions. People are like, "Oh, I didn't realize that." Like, there's very obvious like stuff with eyes in that
Yes.
movie, which is why Daniel Kaluuya, one of the best eye performers, is a good choice. But I'm firmly of the belief that like the reason why the like center part of the alien is yellow is because Gordy's eyes have that like golden circle tint, so it makes it so it's much easier to connect the three animals and like thematically and all that. And it's just like it's just like little choices like that are so. Hunter, were you also like wigged out by the Skinwalker stuff that's in there? There's not as much, but
Here's the thing. They kind of had me for a second with that, but then as soon as you got a good visual of what they were, I was like, fuck off.
Yeah. Well, there's other stuff. There's other like more obscure high strangeness stuff that's still in there. But compared to like the trailer, like so for example, in the trailer when you saw those lights off in the distance, I thought that was a reference to the story from the wife at Skinwalker Ranch who saw an RV like floating away from her. And she saw like men in the RV like taking notes on her and they're like just going about their business like they're like a person in a blind or something. And as she tried to get closer to the RV, like I thought that's what that was a reference to, based off of the trailer when that first came out.
Even the stuff with Keith Davis, like the keys falling from the sky, like that feels like very much like, oh, this could be misconstrued as high strangeness. There's very clearly like a biological reason it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
But like,
there's a lot of stuff like that with the
It doesn't feel like that they want you to think it like Skinwalker Ranch, but it's not actually what's happening.
Yeah,
or it's like trying to provide answers.
Yeah, I really liked his conclusions that he came to. They all made sense, and they were like, this checks out. This could be an explanation for some of the weird stories that have been heard. Like it's not one for one, but like the fact that there were like these dogs that were like turned into mush, or like they were turned into like skeletons or something like that. After they were were allowed to go free and like chase down an alien or something or some object. Like even that, if you're in the Nope universe, well, the dogs got eaten and their bones or something got spit out, or something like that.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think that's the bigger thing that Jordan Peele is trying to say is that like a lot of the answers for things that seem weird or whatever are a lot simpler than you realize.
A lot simpler and somehow worse.
Yeah. You know, it's a bunch of bad miracles. But yeah, Connor, you were talking about God of War. You recently beat 2018. Yeah, man.
Me and Hunter, you and I have brought it up in the chat a bunch of times. But like, to take a character like Kratos, who, as you described him, an A1 stain on humanity.
Yes.
Yeah, he was.
And turn him into this like stoic, sad, like regretful shell of a man who has to raise a kid he doesn't even know if he really wants, but is doing it out of like obligation to his deceased wife and to this kid because he still knows him as his dad. And to watch that unfold over the course of like the 20-ish hours, like some of it's better than some movies I've fucking seen. And because the technology is so fucking immersive and just looking at Kratos' face half the time is just super compelling.
Yep.
And Eric, you described Baldur the best, so I'll just let you do it real quick.
Oh, he's a fucking hillbilly. He is a hillbilly. Yeah.
I heard no bell.
Hey, yo, guy, kids in hair that
he looks like some guy saw us at Cumberland Farms one time at like 3 a.m. You know, like he's asked for cigarettes.
You got $5. I got a bag full of beer.
He's the guy who's in Sons of Anarchy, right? It's that guy who's in like okay, that's Thor.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
No, I don't know who this guy is, but yeah, he is Nordic hillbilly. Like, yeah.
Perfect.
Also, the whole
Yeah.
just the way Kratos doesn't want to let this be a fight to the death. He's trying to avoid it actively. And then when he finally decides to kill Baldur, what he says has stuck with me since it happened. Where it's not an overkill, it's not a glory kill. It almost resembles nothing like his previous, fatalities he's committed across the series. He just grabs him and says, "The cycle ends here. We must be better," and just calmly snaps his neck. Kind of fucked me up for a second because I'm like, "Oh man, was that the right decision?" Woo.
Yeah, he wasn't going to stop.
Arlen, do you conceptually know the whole conflict with Baldur in that game?
I don't know all the details. I know I can hang with most of it. Because I haven't been able to play it, but like I know enough of the story. I feel like I've been spoiled on a lot of the reveals at this point, just through existing.
He shows up and basically challenges Kratos to a fist fight. They wreck an entire fucking canyon. They have a more destructive, superpowered fight than I've seen some Saiyans have.
With a lot of suplexes,
a lot of wrestling. But basically, like, he was sent by Odin to do something. You find out what it was later, but then it comes down to Baldur essentially wanting to murder his mother Freya because she's the one who put this invulnerability curse on him. But he can't feel anything, not warmth, cold, nothing. He's completely numb. He's been living like this his whole life, and he can't stand the fact that his mother did this. So at the end, he's essentially going to strangle her to death, and Kratos is like, "I will not stand here and watch you do this." So he kills him in front of Freya, and she just screams. And that's part of the ending that messed me up, because I was like, I don't know if anybody in this situation is right or wrong, but I want to be out of it immediately.
I will not let you kill this woman, unlike those horrible bitches I killed in that terrible
Unlike that sack of shit Icarus, whose wings I ripped off mid-flight and pushed him off the earth.
No, did you not hear about that? Was it God of War Ascension was the one that they had to pull, or they had to delay its release because it leaked that, like, there's a point where Kratos called a woman a bitch that he killed in it?
I don't remember this at all.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah.
Fact.
No, I don't remember the exact details, but I know that is the story.
There was what was it? There was, I think in the PS3 collection that had all the games in it, there was an achievement called
that's it. Bros Before Hoes or something like that.
Bros Before Hoes, and I think the description was, "You didn't do it, but I bet you wish you did." And it's that part in the game where a woman gets crushed by like a wheel during a puzzle.
Yeah,
and you get an achievement for that. It's really tough.
Mistress. Yeah, Kratos changes some wheel that is essentially holding open a door, and he just chains her there and leaves her holding this gate open, but it's like weight based. And as soon as you walk away, you hear it crush her, and you go back. There's just nothing but legs and blood. And he says nothing. Cool. And in this, like, he goes out of his way to not murder things left and right. And then in Ragnarok, no spoilers, he's like a fully reformed man who now has to deal with this budding demigod son of his, who he had to like work to quell this kid's bloodthirst for a little while.
Yeah. Whew. It was not looking good.
There's a whole section of God of War 2018 where I was like, I want to push this kid down a fucking flight of stairs. Speak to me that way.
Yes. Yeah, when I got to that part in the game and like I was in a fight and I'd gotten used to using Atreus's arrows, and I just hear him say, "Whatever." I'm like, "Oh, little shit, I'm gonna."
I had the same reaction.
I do like it is kind of like
2 feet tall.
Like, in a way, it's Kratos getting a taste of his own medicine. Like,
it totally is.
He's facing his worst trait
in the form of a child.
A video game metaphor for the moment where you're like, "Oh, my son did this."
Yeah,
or I did this to my dad. I mean,
that was the inspiration for this game. It was Harry Chapin's fucking song, "I'm Gonna Be Like You, Dad." I can't. Cats in the Cradle. That's it. Yeah, this is just a reinterpretation of Cats in the Cradle.
It's exactly. It's just,
but the second one, like,
I showed my age.
In Ragnarok, like, I wasn't expecting it to be a full-on, like, I guess, retelling of the Ragnarok tale. And the pieces they've moved around to fit this story, I think, is super fucking interesting because Kratos seemingly has just walked into this like mid-process from the last game, it seems. And that him killing Baldur in a set in act of, I'm not going to sit here and watch you murder this woman. It accidentally kickstarts the process of Ragnarok.
Well, essentially, it's him essentially walking into the plot of like God of War 3 and being like, maybe we shouldn't do
I'm gonna
this.
sit in my cabin. Please don't bother me. Oh, you're all here.
That's a really smart thing to do. Honestly, it's like he could go to India at like the very beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, and just like fuck that up too next time.
And he's like, maybe I shouldn't interfere. And everyone's like, no, you have to go.
Going out of their way to make sure he does. I also love this interpretation of Odin because the way he speaks and acts is fucking fascinating. Because he sounds like he could be your neighbor. First of all, he's very chummy.
He's straight out of a Tarantino movie. And also, I love the idea of the Norse gods being a crime family.
Yes, and like he has this fast, talky, friendly nature. But then when you see him, because he's not projecting cruelty. You keep hearing about cruelty. And then, like, you'll see a glimpse of it in just one thing he says. You're like, that's the real you, and you're doing a lot of work to make sure nobody sees that. Because he treats Thor like shit. But he doesn't go out of his way to, like, he doesn't call him anything. But he'll say something that's so derisive and mean-spirited without saying much at all, where Thor just walks away. I'm like, oh, that's it. That's the manipulation he has. That he just makes these people feel small. Also, I don't think this is a spoiler, but your first sight of Asgard in this game, you see it, and my first reaction was, what a fucking shit heap that
is. You see, you're like, wow, this fucking sucks.
There's no splendor or glory or anything like that you see in like Assassin's Creed or the Marvel movies or anything else. It's, as Hunter described it, a fucking Skyrim village.
Yeah, you go there and you're like, oh, this is Windhelm.
Long houses and lots of wood, and that is fucking it. And it's just in the top of this.
How did I get to Riverwood?
It looks like it's just this big village on a big fucking wall. And like I guess like on the bottom of it is like these regular Midgardians are living, but like it's and the way all these way everyone talks, the Thor performance is like really fucking good. And that fight with Thor in the first like 10 minutes of the game is one of the best one-on-one fights I've had in the game probably ever. I like that whole thing as Thor just showing up and like, hey, you killed my boys. I want to just kind of punch you for a while.
Even though he sucks, I do really love Heimdall in this game. I'm not going to say more than that, but I do love that character a whole lot.
I can't help but be intrigued by him because he's been because everyone's, I guess, like most common associated with the name Heimdall is they're going to go with Elba from the Marvel movies, who is like, chummy and altruistic and very heroic. And this Heimdall was given the gift of sight and said, fuck every one of you. I'm the best guy who's ever lived. None of you can hope to touch me.
Do you care if I spoil a small part of
No, I don't. It's fine.
I don't care. Yeah.
So Heimdall, the way his sight works is he can see everyone's intentions around him. He's not seeing everything. He's seeing essentially what everyone feels like their innermost thoughts, and it made him a dickhead because he's like, "Oh, all of you have secrets and all these like inner desires that are awful."
Bullshit. Yeah,
and his thing is like
I'm just gonna be
where Odin will needle you once in the middle of the conversation. Heimdall's style of approach is to needle you with every possible thing he could say to you, and if he isn't raining insults down on you, then it's not even worth his time. Every single thing he says to Atreus is derogatory and demeaning. Like, he doesn't stop Atreus.
It's like, holy shit, he's a kid.
It's the only way Heimdall can get off. He needs to have people like thinking these terrible things. But to touch back on what you were saying about fucking Baldur and him not being able to feel and all that whatnot, it just reminded me of a comic that J. Michael Straczynski had written called, I think it was Rising Star or something along those lines. Anyways, bunch of kids got superpowers. They grow up and you find out what happened with them and there's a big story. But the one guy had the ability that he was invulnerable. The thing is, he couldn't feel anything. So what he ended up doing was eating because that was the only thing he could enjoy. And so he just became this big fat guy, and then one of the guys murdered him because every one of them that died, then the powers got redistributed between all the kids that were still alive. But he got murdered by being suffocated because he still needed to breathe.
Got Bruce Willis.
It didn't matter that he was like invulnerable. Yeah, it didn't matter that he was like invulnerable and couldn't feel anything. He still needed to breathe. But anyways, it's like I need to get that out.
Unbreakable Man is unbreakable, but you can drown him in a puddle.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, Arlen, Connor, did you have anything else you wanted to add about
Not yet, because I'm still playing it.
God of War?
I'm probably about, I would say, maybe quarter of the way, halfway through it. It's astounding, and I can't wait to finish it. And then after that, I've got Ghost of Tsushima, or Death Stranding. I haven't decided yet.
Nice.
Ooh,
nice.
Death Stranding.
So, Arlen, what have you been watching recently?
I mean, I've watched a lot of the big movies that are currently out.
There was one in particular I know you wanted to fillet a little bit, as you said.
Just lightly, I want to point out that, like, Dungeons and Dragons fucks, guys. The trailers are very
good things, but also I've heard nothing post-release. Like,
interesting. Yeah, it's weird.
I've heard about how well it's done. Actually, that's
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See, I've heard mixed things about this because I keep on hearing that it's not doing that well. But like, I still don't know what well is now. Like, I don't know what people consider to be a success or not. Like before the virus, which is all we're gonna say. Like, I had a very good understanding of what was a successful movie or not. And it's still like 3 years into like movies still coming out where I'm like, if it's not Top Gun Maverick, I don't know what's successful and what isn't.
Well, I think the other thing to keep in mind too is that, like, yes, it's Chris Pine and we like him, but this is a mid-tier movie, and mid-tier movies are in a really weird place post-COVID. Well, post-COVID, in this post now that COVID exists world.
Yeah, where it's like, I don't know what the expectations are on a $150 million movie. I don't know I just don't know. Like, I had a much clearer idea of what something at that budget was meant to do before. But I don't know what a Marvel movie that is made for that much is supposed to do, and I don't know what other movies.
It's funny you bring up Marvel because Ant-Man 3 right now was the news I heard was that it took a massive fucking beating in the follow-up weeks.
I think people
objectively, that one didn't do well. That is one of the few times where I can be like, okay, that didn't do well because Disney's expectations were that this would do not quite Avengers level, but they were expecting quite a bit more than what they got.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's because the studio has kind of said that out loud. And Bob Iger, because he just took over, he did what every person who takes over a corporation does. He threw the previous person under the bus, which is just part of the playbook. Regardless of whether or not you like the person who came before, this is just what they always do.
Yeah, but it makes me feel good, personally.
I know,
I agree. Feel good.
I agree. But like, unless they were like really chummy and like really friendly before taking over, it's rule number one: you throw the person under the bus, and you and when you're taking credit or when you're giving them credit for something, you have to throw insults in there. You have to be like, yeah, but they did this wrong, but they didn't get this right. So, and if it weren't for him publicly saying that, I wouldn't actually know how much they expected Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania to do. Like, did they expect it to make Ant-Man numbers, or did they expect it to make Iron Man 3 numbers?
I'm gonna be honest. I think people watching movies has changed completely, because nowadays I talk to people and they're like, "Yeah, I just watched Puss in Boots because it came to Peacock and I have Peacock, so I watched it."
Yeah,
it's like, okay, that's totally different now.
We can't. The genie is out of the bottle in terms of how people want to watch movies now. Some movies are just, I'm gonna wait till it's on the cock. I'm gonna wait till it's on Paramount Plus. I'm gonna,
Once you
I'm
gave
not.
people
There were many
the
people who
benefit of
didn't
not having to go out and spend that much fucking
Yeah.
money, being in the comfort of their own home,
Yep.
being able to not have to dress up to go see public, all the, I guess, dregs of going to the theater. I love the theater, but like, sometimes it just fucking sucks. And so to avoid that entirely,
sometimes I just want to stay home.
You can't just give that to people and say, we're done with that now. No, fuck you. Like,
D&D, just for context, is currently breaking even in terms of numbers.
Okay. Well, yeah, let's
definitely-
get back to that before we get stuck in the mires of talking about the R&D and whatnot of movies.
Yes.
So what, like with D&D, like it was well done all around, or
I mean, it got the world right. It got the characters right. Something I've been thinking ever since I got out of it was like, this feels like John Francis Daly,
auditioning for Marvel. Yeah.
Specifically, he's like, James is out of here, right? So like, hey, look at this. Look at this thing that I just did. Like, it feels like that to me because it does. Like, if they announced Guardians 4, directed and written by John Francis Daly and his writing partner, whose name I'm forgetting, I'd be like, yeah.
I was kind of sold when they released
Duh.
that one trailer where
Clearly.
it's just them asking the corpse 5 questions.
Yeah. That's the other thing. Like, the jokes in the movie are so good. Like, it's clearly written by people who understand comedy, and they understand the context in which a joke where a joke should be and where it should.
Well, and then from people who play more D&D than I do,
really well.
I was talking that scene with somebody at work, and someone was like, "That's how some D&D campaigns go, where people start talking, and you lose control of the situation, and it's fucked." Like,
yes. Well, and sorry to interrupt, Arlen, but to give you some context on how much the people who made this movie actually know and care about D&D, I can't remember the name of the creature. I think it's an intellect devourer or something like that they run into in the movie. And
yes.
the joke is that like, oh, haha, it doesn't want to eat. It doesn't bother them at all. That's because all of their character classes aren't based on intellect.
Oh,
yeah,
it's based on wisdom or charisma or strength or dexterity. And that was something I was reading about recently. I'm like, okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad that it technically, I don't know if that's the appropriate wording, but technically that checks out. But also, like, there's a funny joke in that moment where, like, so the intellect devourers, they just go right past him, and Chris Pine turns his head and looks at him like, well, that's just insulting. And his delivery is so perfect. It's so good. It's just such a good moment. Like, and also just like, they really make you care about these characters, and the movie doesn't take itself too seriously. And that's a problem I'm having with all movies, honestly, as of late, but specifically like horror movies and comedies even, and like action movies taking themselves a little too seriously. Like, if you're someone who really misses just like a fun, goofy action movie, this is that. And I'll be honest, even as a person who defends Marvel quite a bit, it is nice seeing it from somebody that isn't Marvel. It is nice seeing something outside of that camp, because it has sort of like pushed a lot of other stuff out. And yeah, I was just like really blown away by how they got everything right. And also, I was trying to see these movies at the same time, but I ended up having a weekend between them. I saw Shazam recently.
God.
Which,
no, I'm so sorry.
So I do want to talk about that for a little bit.
Bad.
Like,
it's aggressively mid.
I think that's the best way to put it. And like, you can tell that they were trying. I have a theory about it all, but I do want to just like wrap up on Dungeons and Dragons real quick. Like, they just did everything right that a Dungeons and Dragons movie should be, and I think even Paramount recognizes that. I think that's why like there's supposed to be a D&D show coming sometime soon.
Interesting.
I think that's still happening.
I
don't know.
had
Really-
heard. I think John Francis Daly or someone came out and was like they would like to do a sequel with is his name Trist?
Yeah, Duundren.
Mm.
Yeah, the drow who lives on the surface. Yep. Yeah,
That sounds really interesting, I guess. But,
yeah, no,
Yeah.
it'd be really cool if they adapted some of that, because those are actually, I mean, mind you, they're very dated. I read them when I was much younger. But yeah, they were fun stories, and there's a lot of them, so they can pick and choose from wherever they need to.
Yeah. I got the sense that like there's a lot of stuff where there are a lot of things that were like references, and like that's clearly a big character.
Mhm.
I just don't know who that is. And there's a lot of stuff where it feels like, okay, there's enough setup here for another story, and I would really like to exist in the world that they presented. Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to say. Oh, also there's a fat dragon in the movie, and he's great.
Yes. And that's actually based on a real fat dragon from
I love
D&D.
that.
Yeah.
I love that so
Yeah,
much.
I don't know the character's name because I'm not as familiar with D&D
I
as
also
I
heard
am
the same thing from a
Pathfinder, but
coworker.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's so much that they get right. And also, like, I like fantasy shit in general.
Mhm.
I've said this many times off air. Like, if it's a fantasy thing, I'm at least gonna try it because I'm just a slut. I'm just like, give it to me. Like, I'll try it even if it's bad. I fucking watch too much. I watched so much of Ring of Time, and it was a waste. It was entirely a waste of my existence. It was a
show I kept saying looked like
it was a waste of that actress who I
that's that show I
love.
kept saying looked like an iPhone ad in its trailers.
It does kind of feel like an iPhone ad, and I'm really sad about it because Rosamund is killing it. I actually think the lore of Wheel of Time, from everything that I know and from what's presented in the show, is really cool. Because
Isn't
I don't know,
it like supposed to be the far future? Actually,
it is. It's a far, not necessarily of our time, but like the suggestion is that this is after like a Dark Ages period. So there was like a previous society that was much more advanced and much closer to our current society.
Mhm.
Again, it's not one for one. It's not supposed to be like this is 1,000 years after year 2500 for us. It's like a very comparable to us, but it's a society where science and magic are like very much interlinked, and they're like mastered, and people like are experts at both of those things, and they understand them. So like you have people who have the ability to like heal very quickly, and they have like much closer to our world, and it is meant to be afterwards. It's the world after all of that has fallen apart. And like that's a cool idea, and there's like ideas about like how history repeats itself, and like how it's all the wheel of time. But it's just like I think they biffed it on like the actual follow through of some of the stories and some of what was going on, where it's like I couldn't name any of the characters in that show right now if you held a gun in my head, and that's a bad sign for me. I think with TV shows, a television series is successful partially because you get involved in the characters that you're following and you remember their names. Like I can tell you the names of many characters in Game of Thrones, as much as people like to claim that they can't remember them, and so on and so forth.
We're getting into the weeds here.
But no, like it's important to point out. Like, but anyways, yeah, go watch D&D. I do. I'll talk about Shazam a little bit though.
Yeah.
I don't. So this is my theory on this.
Wayne Johnson. No.
Zachary Levi's ego. Well, no, that's an entire other story. I think Zachary Levi is forced in the movie, and I don't think this is coming up enough. Like the movie is his. It's all about him and his version of the character, his version of Billy.
Well,
and it's like
the thing I've heard is that Billy Batson himself is barely in the movie.
He's in. I think he has 2 scenes and
That's
3 lines of
fucking
dialogue
wild.
in total. It's really weird to me. and I don't get it. And I don't. I think the way I would put it is compared to 2018 Shazam. I want to say what is time?
Yeah.
What are years? Compared to that movie, which I think was like walking a tightrope, and it's successful because it did all of these little things correctly. It understood the character that it had to adapt. It understood the world around it and its like corner of DC that it had to adapt. It wasn't afraid to like be kind of goofy and kind of weird and oblique, and like make references to like deep cut golden age
But it also
DC
just
stuff.
like he searches for his birth mother, and she's like, "I want nothing to do with you." And like he's just, as a kid, he's just fucking crushed.
There's this emotional core to the movie that is really strong, and at the same time, the villains of the movie are the 7 deadly sins, and a man with a missing eyeball, and like it takes it serious. Again, what I was kind of saying about the original, about the D&D movie that just came out, like it knew when to be serious and it knew when to be funny, and it knew how to balance those two things and to balance these characters. And like I love the fact that at the end of the movie they're like, and now the Shazam family is here.
Which shocked. I was not ready for that at all. I had no spoilers, no indication whatsoever. They're going to go from there to there in that amount of time.
Yeah, which is wild to me. It's absolutely wild that they did that, and they were like unafraid to do that, because that's the kind of thing that I would have said. They'll never do that. They wouldn't do that in their first movie. They'll get to that. They'll give Freddy powers maybe, and by the end of the second movie, we'll get to the Shazam family. But like, no, it's just the Shazam family, and we have like 6 superheroes, or I think 6 superheroes on screen for the last 15 minutes of this movie. And I was so excited at the end of that first Shazam movie, being like, okay, well they've just like set themselves up to do something really cool in the next movie, because they have all these characters to play with and to explore. And
beyond that, they also set up Mr. Mind, and then they also had the room of doors that lead to all the different places, and they were cowards for not introducing our favorite Tiger Man hunter.
Yes, they are cowards for doing so.
Well, I think there's a practical aspect to that, being these movies are still kind of cheap as far as the DC movies, and I don't think that they had the budget to do a CGI tiger. Yeah,
but that's cowardice.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I agree, but I'm just saying, practically, I don't think that they were willing to spend the money. They should have. I do agree.
Yes.
But like I was saying, they didn't explore this family really at all. That stuff is there. Some of that's there. The family dynamic is an important part of the movie, but like by about the third act of the movie, most of the Shazam family don't have powers.
Oh, fuck off.
Cool.
Why?
Yeah. And the movie, like, do you guys care about spoilers on this
no,
movie?
No, not at all.
No.
Okay. Audience, spoilers from this point forth. It becomes about Billy sacrificing himself to like save the family. And like I'm really like I'm like really squeezing a bunch of details out of this. But like, understand there are many arcs going on in this movie that I don't think quite fully work. But by the end of this movie, he does a thing that I guess is in Kingdom Come. I guess it's a thing that happens in Kingdom Come, where he uses the Shazam powers to, spoilers for Kingdom Come, blow up Superman. And he uses that at the end of this movie to kill Lucy Liu and the dragon that you've seen in the trailers.
Okay.
And the Tree of Life, which is creating monsters throughout Philly.
Terrence Malick movie?
No, like the
I know what you're talking about.
Legendary Tree of Life. But like the Tree of Life, because they planted it in the baseball field. I don't know Philly. I have no fucking clue. I have no clue. But the baseball field in Philly, they plant the Tree of Life there, and it causes like cyclopses and harpies and unicorns to like grow out of. That's the thing. Like there are still moments in this where you're like, okay, that's really dope. David Sandberg still understands like horror. And like
you mean there's a whole sequence where a boardroom gets devoured and you just watch the whole thing?
You're seeing like the people on the streets of Philly getting like torn apart by cyclopses, and like people are just getting like wrecked. David Sandberg puts himself in the movie, and I love this. He has himself get essentially the Jurassic World death, but because it's him, that's funny, and because I know it's him, that's hilarious that he's having himself get like torn apart by harpies. Like he runs towards screaming, "Ah, help me!" And he's just you see him get like lifted up in the air and dropped, and like it's hilarious. Again, I think his direction in the movie is still good. That's the thing. Like it's a real mixed bag where some of the story stuff doesn't quite work, some of the execution stuff doesn't work. I don't think leaning so much on Zachary Levi, whose performance is like
famous anti-vaxxer.
Well, yes. Aside from all that, like he did a bad job in this movie compared to the first movie. Like it's a lesser performance of this character, and because we're spending so much time with him as the character, and there's no Asher Angel character or version of the character to go to maybe counterbalance that. It's just much more obvious how bad of a job he's doing.
It's not funny. It's actually pretty interesting that you and Captain Midnight are saying like to a T the exact same thing about this movie. Is that like Shazam's presence becomes overbearing, and there's no other balancing weight to swing the other way, and that he remarked about the Shazam family being pretty much disposed of, and he just said it just doesn't.
And if they have. If they have moments, if they have suggestions of other things for them to be doing, those things are not developed. They're cut out. Like there are things to do with the Mary Marvel character. There are suggestions of things that they could be doing with her, and she's a fantastic actress. She only has a few scenes in this movie, and like there are suggestions of cool things for her to be doing. The boy who plays Freddy. He has interesting stuff he could be doing and that they could be going into. And even the actor who's playing him in his powered up version, their performances are so in sync. And they're so clearly playing the exact same character. And it feels like off screen they spent hours like really like getting into focus so that they're playing the same person. And it just feels so correct. And there's like an entire like love plot with him and one of the villains that they introduce. And like it's really well done, but it's cut short. It feels like there was an extended version of that entire subplot that they just
I need to bring this up just in case you do forget it. Arlen made it a point to say that this movie climaxes with Billy sacrificing himself. Well, one of the things I was about to say is that it sounds like the movie gives you no reason to care about anything or invest in it properly, and boy, does the ending also do that well.
Yeah.
Well, so
I did see that.
They do.
I did see that.
This is the other part. All the other actors around him, and even Zachary Levi, who I just said was not doing as good of a job as in the last movie, he actually does sell his death scene. All the other actors sell all of it. The actor playing the regular Freddy, like they have a moment that's really touching and they connect right before he's about to do it, and it looks fucking dope in this final fight with the dragon. It looks really cool. Him and the way the music is building, and like he's spread lightning throughout the arena, and it's like striking, and the lighting is the CG artists on this movie. Oh my god. Like this is like it, if the Oscars actually cared about the movies where visual effects are actually happening and they paid attention, this movie would be getting a VFX award. Because some of the stuff is so good. There's stuff with the dragon that is fucking eerie and creepy and metal. But like him as he's and just the explosion, all of it really plays. And then they go to Mount Olympus, which is destroyed and dilapidated because they need the Tree of Life to bring it back, to bring the gods back, because apparently, I guess this was set up in Wonder Woman, all the gods are dead. I didn't remember that. I guess that they're all dead, apparently. I guess that's from the very beginning of Wonder Woman. Like, at the very beginning, they say all of the gods are dead, which is why Diana is not believed when she says that it's
Ares.
Like, that's why she's not believed that it's Ares that's causing
You
World War I, because all the gods are supposed to be dead.
Maybe. Okay, hear me out. Maybe the DC universe prior to James Gunn wasn't very well thought out.
Nope.
Maybe it was poorly planned from the beginning, and nobody was really thinking about this stuff. But anyway, that's a side point. So they bury him they bury Billy in Olympus. For some reason, they bury him in Mount Olympus, in front of the desiccated old Tree of Life that is dead, and they're like, well, we could probably something. This place could be brought back, or the something about the staff could probably bring all this stuff back, but there are no gods or whatever. And then whose music do you hear but Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman theme? And Gal Gadot walks on screen, and she's giving her best Israeli recruitment smile, and and she says, "But there is a God," or something like that. Some fucking.
You've got to be fucking kidding
It's really bad. She's not. It's really, really bad. It's like,
goodness.
Oh my god.
Hold on. So not only is there a Deus Ex Machina,
it's
but the Deus Ex Machina announces itself?
Yes.
Yes. She's like, but there is a God. I can't
criminal.
even. I can't even remember the line because her delivery is so bad. But she summons the lightning of Zeus, and she brings back the Tree of Life. I'm gonna say that that's what happened, and that brings Billy back to life. Which is revealed by Zachary Levi jumping out of the soil, and doing zombie noises, like, "Oh, I'm kidding. It's just a joke. I'm not really dead." And also, there's been a subplot through the whole of the movie where he wants to date Wonder Woman. That's just been a running gag throughout the movie that wasn't very good.
Somehow your description of this movie makes me want to watch it.
Makes me want to watch Black Adam.
Yeah, I'm all set.
Yeah,
don't watch the whole movie. No, so here's the thing.
No, I'm not going to watch it at all.
It's still significantly better than Black Adam was. Adam's.
I'm not going to watch Black Adam either, so I won't need the point of comparison.
But my point is this: if you thought Shazam, the first movie, was okay, if you're like, this is fine, this is going to be utter gobbledygook and entirely a mess to you. You're going to be like, I hate this. Yep. This is just awful.
Not touching it then.
If you loved that movie, if you were super invested in that movie, it's not going to make it any better. Because I think this movie disabuses you for having liked it.
Honestly, it kind of feels like if you were invested in the first one, this movie doesn't really treat you very well.
It doesn't. And it's really hard because I actually don't really think I blame Sandberg. I can tell that there was machinations going on.
The hands are visible kind of a mess. This whole mess because it's everything that's going on. We're not going to get into now. It's the whole fucking separate conversation that we've talked about recently.
Again, I don't details and we've talked about this many times. Corporate reshuffling, all that, whatever. I don't blame him. I can tell that he was trying his best with this, but there are mistakes from day one here that are very obvious to me. And it's to what you were saying, Eric, they set up a lot of cool Shazam centric stuff that they could have been doing. I have larger criticisms of I don't know why the villains are these three Greek gods. I don't understand why they're there. I don't really understand what the point of them was. I think
when a separate, bigger Hollywood star
as much as I love
swoops
her,
in and just steals their villain and says, "This is mine now," you have to just make some bullshit up.
Oh yeah, I guess. Well, I mean, that's a good point. I mean, also, yeah, The Rock and all that stuff. Like, I don't imagine that.
So
helped.
I have a bit of information about the post credits that I think is interesting. So the post credits is that Billy is like living, but he's like kind of sequestered in some old abandoned gas station, and he's just hanging out, I guess, hidden. And he is approached by characters from Peacemaker with Waller, I believe. Isn't she there?
No, it's Economos, and it's James's wife, who Zack Snyder could have married better. He could have married her better.
So they approach him and offer him a position in the Justice Society. Apparently, this was a massive fucking ordeal because The Rock, I guess, claimed dibs on the Justice Society and wouldn't let them appear. It was supposed to be Hawkman.
Yeah, it's very obvious.
Hawkman Cyclone. And The Rock got a hold of this information and went out of his way to block that from happening. So then the director had to scramble at the last second to get these Suicide Squad and Peacemaker actors.
Yeah.
What?
Really clear. It's patently obvious that they filmed this like off to the corner on a day on Peacemaker. Like, Economos and his wife were like not on the scene when Robert Patrick is coming after Cena, and they were like off in a corner, like, oh, let's go over here real quick. Let's go over to this gas station that we found, and Zachary's here, and just these lines of dialogue. And it's not even like, oh, he's just like doing like shooting practice. He's like shooting lightning out of his hands at some bottles, and they come up, and they're just in full Peacemaker mode. Is like the weird off kilter thing about it. Like, they're clearly like in the Peacemaker version of those characters. I can't remember the name of the actor, but Economos is saying like shit every other word, and he's like talking about how he hasn't broken his shoes in. It just feels so tonally disconnected from the movie that was just watched, and it's just like, oh wow, they should have maybe cut this scene, because I don't think that we're going to be seeing these characters again, or at least not Zachary Levi anytime soon. It's just
or
like
again.
Now you have two different movies that introduce the society, and because of like how this went down and what's happening in DC, none of it fucking matters. So good job, everyone. Like,
no, it doesn't. It really doesn't. It's just like, I don't care about any of this, and none of this is gonna really ever matter. So yeah. Anyway,
right. Are we done with Shazam?
I would like to talk about something that's not Shazam.
My God.
Wrap up, but I'm not going to talk about it too much because okay.
Oh, cool. Okay.
First question, Hunter and Eric, what is the gauge of your interest in Star Trek?
I like Next Generation, but that's really about where.
Yeah, I like Next Generation, but I don't care to go back to Star Trek.
Star Trek Picard Season 3 is one of the best Star Trek things I have seen from start to finish in my whole life, and to God. This show made me cry on multiple occasions. This show made me cheer on multiple occasions. I didn't know Michael Dorn was a comedic genius, but apparently he is. So, and to address the whole season 1, season 2 thing, by the end of this show, and this is the last season, I'm pretty sure they have gone the retconning route, because something happens that flies directly in the face of something that had in season 2. There are references and stuff, but this is a 10-episode, like, just balls to the wall, flat out sincere. Everyone is working at their absolute best with each other on their best day, celebration of Next Generation, and then you get sprinkles of Deep Space Nine, you get sprinkles of Voyager, and just it. I don't know how to describe it other than just being fucking perfect, essentially. Which is I don't say that lightly. Like, I was waiting for them to make some kind of misstep or some kind of you know cardinal sin, and there isn't one. And the one I thought was gonna be the thing, and I don't know, Arlen, I'm tiptoeing because I don't know how sensitive you are to the spoilers territory right now.
I'm gonna watch it soon, but it doesn't really matter. Star Trek spoilers don't matter to me. I mean,
this is essentially a follow up to First Contact, and it's the Borg again, but the Borg are so hamstrung and injured from the last major thing that happened in the timeline, being Captain Janeway, that this is the last attempt they can possibly make could be forever to get back at Picard and Starfleet. And what they're doing is like just full on just terrorism with like changelings, and they have compromised Starfleet to the point where like the entire fleet is compromised, and it's been going on for years. The plot is awesome. It revolves around Picard meeting up with Beverly Crusher, who's sending out a distress signal, and then he finds her, and she's like, "That's your son." And he's like, "Oh, what?"
Oh.
Yeah, and the whole thing deals with legacy, and like you meet Geordi's kids, and you have to deal with the fact that, Picard has to deal with the fact that he has a son who has existed for over 20 years, who at some point he's like, "Why didn't I meet him?" And Beverly goes, "He didn't want to meet you." And he has to kind of process that.
Wow, okay.
Data comes back. The entire TNG group comes back. And everyone has been given these very believable and like logical historical gaps from like the last time we saw them up to now. Riker's an admiral. Riker Meridiana. Right. Riker has 2 kids. One of them died. And he talks about it in a way that wormed its way into my soul and really fucked me up for a few minutes. Because he talks about having...
Does he come up to you and turn the chair around and sit on it really weird when he talks to you?
No, I will say like,
motherfucker.
I don't.
Does he ask you many questions?
When I think of like, he's really good at what he does, because I'm usually associating him with like cheese like this, but like he's fucking awesome in this. And he's talking about having to go to his son's funeral, and he's watching the casket get lowered, and he said it just seemed like infinite blackness, like they would lower him in there forever. And I just stared at it. I'm like, that is the most chilling thing I've ever heard a man say. And it fucked him and Deanna's relationship up. Beverly says she couldn't stay with Picard because as soon as she found out she was pregnant, people tried to kill him like 7 times in a week. And she's like, I can keep Dr. Beverly Crusher's son alive. I don't know if I can keep the galaxy from murdering the son of Jean-Luc Picard. And he's like, holy shit.
So this is the only thing that is kind of, but I don't mind you telling me this. They like canonized their relationship, is what you're saying. They made that like, wow, okay, that is a bold thing. Well, that's always been insinuated.
And there's even
it's always been like,
says, we ended our relationship, and he cuts her over and says, our romantic relationship. They have a fucing fight. He's like, how dare you use like my life against me to keep me out of his life? Geordi has 2 daughters, and they're both pilots.
And they both have visors.
No, he's not a visor anymore.
I want to say, so one of them is actually LeVar Burton's daughter, right?
Maybe. I didn't know that.
Oh, that's cool.
Mika Burton.
He's incredible too. He's doing a lot. Like,
that's her name.
He's in it for the back half, and he's doing a lot of fucking heavy lifting. There's a character they introduced named Liam Shaw, who's a Starfleet commander who is like 100% by the book. However, he is the most likable douchebag I've ever seen introduced to this fucking series. He has no time for Picard and Riker's bullshit when they first appear. He's like, yeah, I love you guys. I love reading about you guys. I love reading about you guys and your equally irresponsible adventures. And at some point they're like, because they have to commandeer a ship, or whatever, and like he's in an elevator with them, and they're like, well, hopefully we'll remember all those times we saved the galaxy. And he goes, yeah, they might, or I remember that time you guys hot dropped the saucer of the Enterprise D on a planet, violating the Prime Directive. Or they'll remember that time you threw the Prime Directive out the window so you could snog a villager on Baku. Or they'll remember the time you guys created a time paradox and almost wiped out humanity. Let's hope they don't remember those things. And he walks away from them.
I'm stunned that this is the same show that like so thoroughly turned me away from it.
That I'm just like there's very few instances where you can see like there was massive creative shifts in the background, but like they got someone with a completely different idea of what Star Trek was in the first 2 seasons, and then got someone who knows exactly what Star Trek is in the last season. It's fan-fucking-tastic, and they do things like there's a full-on visual reference of the original Enterprise. They tell you where the Voyager is. You find out where characters from Deep Space Nine and Voyager have been. Some of them have been promoted. Some people who were just like regular officers in TNG show up with the original actor having been promoted multiple times. So it feels like the universe has been very much lived in. The music is great. The visual effects are fantastic. And like the first 4 episodes feel like they could be their own fucking movie. Because the stakes get raised almost immediately.
Right. Yeah, it almost sounds too good to be true, to be honest. But I'm going to check it out.
I thought you said Trek it out.
I have. No, I'm not.
But as far as like Hunter and Eric,
if I was doing that, I would have made it much more obvious.
Like I would give this a recommendation based on the fact that it's just fucking good TV. It meets all those qualifications, I think. But then on top of it being just excellent Star Trek unexpectedly is just the icing on the cake for me personally.
I mean, I do like Next Generation, so maybe I'll check that out eventually.
Right.
I mean, I'll be completely honest. I'm probably never going to check it out. I can read about it and be like, oh, that's cool. But yeah, I don't have a place in my heart for Star Trek like I used to.
Well, here's the question: can I skip the 2 bad seasons and just watch that?
Any of it? I had to ask you who the fuck this one character Raffaella was. I'm like, who is she and who is she related to? And basically, what they did, they dumped.
She's not.
They dumped the entire supporting cast in the first 2 seasons and kept one person. That's how much of a change from this is.
Yeah.
They just kept Raffaella. And they partner her with Worf almost immediately just to make sure that she has someone to grab onto that's familiar.
Yeah, it's interesting that they did that because the cast was not the problem of those first 2 seasons. As somebody who watched them, like the cast, it was like the story was not good. Like they'd have these, they introduced these new characters, they made them compelling and interesting, and the story never felt like it was going anywhere interesting. Or this is the major experience I have with the first season, which is an entire episode of nothing happening and characters stating what they need to do, and then they don't do anything. And then they do that for another hour, and then they do that for another hour, until we get to the final 3 episodes, where they try to squeeze all this plot in, and they just so quickly go through everything, and it's like, I can't... What's going on right now? Where are we? What is this? I don't... It's just... It was like a real waste of time show. And it's the fact that I was able to recognize that when the show came out, like at the very beginning of the pandemic, where like I have nothing but time right now.
I'll watch Picard.
I have nothing but time to absorb all this, and it still felt like a waste. It's just,
and that's the thing. Like,
anyway,
it doesn't feel like there's a wasted moment in this. Like, and everything you just said is so. It's in contrast to what I saw, where like they make plans, they follow through, they do it. Sometimes their plans that sound like awesome ideas fuck up so badly, I didn't know what the fuck they were going to do next. There's a scenario where they're in a really bad spot with a ship that has been exhausted down to every single last resource it has, and like it's just the only thing left to do is make a few more pretty bad calls that are the only good calls you can make in this situation, and nobody's right. And for a while, you're like, "This is pretty fucking bleak." It's fan fucking tastic, and I can't give the music enough credit too, because the music is almost manipulative at times with how good it is, because it will transition seamlessly from like the original Enterprise theme into Voyager, into First Contact, into TNG, and then back into like just general Star Trek.
Is it the same guy who did the first 2 seasons? Because that was the one thing that never... that was the one thing that I liked wholeheartedly about the first 2 seasons, because it's the guy who did the music for Legion.
Oh, shit.
On those first 2 seasons. Yeah, and I thought he fucking killed it on the score for both of those. I'm very curious if it's the same for season 3. But so that doesn't surprise me, is what I'm saying. If it's because I think the Legion guy is like one of the best people composing for television right now. Like if I see his name on something, I'm like, oh, well, the music on that show is good. I don't know if the show's gonna
The one positive I can say,
but he fucking kills it every time. Yeah. Okay, it's a different guy. Interesting. So Russo, that is fascinating that they like reset everything so thoroughly that they even.
and the
got
thing
rid
is,
of
like,
Jeff
it looks and feels like the last time we get to see the TNG crew, and if this is it, I couldn't have asked for a better send off for this cast because they like down to the last minute, everything is meant, and everything is sincere. And I don't want to say, I will not say what the actual final scene is because it's fucking awesome if you love TNG. I think my dad was just sobbing to himself with joy because I think this was just probably lighting his brain up on fire. Because it's like I remember watching this with him, and this was his shit back then. So, and like a lot of what I got into with TNG was through Locutus, the Borg, and all that stuff. And he took me to see First Contact in theaters. I fucking love that movie. And loving First Contact as much as I did was like just made this whole experience awesome because they slowly pepper in references to the Borg, to the point where people are like, "Oh, Jean-Luc Picard, I know you, because one day you were on that Borg cube and you killed all of my friends."
Yeah. Okay. I don't think we need to keep on going on, Eric. I'm sorry for holding you hostage. But yeah, no, that interesting. This is all good. I like everything that I'm hearing about this. I guess do we want to wrap or do we have other
Yeah, let's we should probably wrap. It's midnight.
Yeah. All right.
Whoever wants to go first.
Do either of you have plugs?
The only thing I have, and get ready for me to be a petty little bitch, what I've been watching and playing recently, if you want to watch Pinocchio get crucified, go watch Del Toro's Pinocchio on Netflix. It's pretty crazy.
Sorry, Eric. I'm sorry. I didn't even realize that you hadn't brought anything up yourself.
Nope.
It didn't occur to me. I mean, that sounds fun, though. That sounds good.
Don't worry about it. We can wrap. It's cool.
Pinocchio getting crucified. My plugs. Words. LHP going strong. We're doing stuff. A couple episodes have just come out. I don't remember if Das Boot is out or not. I think it's out tomorrow as of the time we're recording this, so go listen to that. Go listen to the Sunshine episode we did. Look forward to an episode from a Polish director whose name I'm not going to pronounce off the top of my head, and his film Possession, starring Sam Neill and Isabella Gianni. That is a
that's the one
fascinating
from the
movie that
like
everybody should see if they haven't. It's the one that's like really hard to get a hold of, and it is
where she's going
it's completely
insane in that long like pedestrian tunnel. Okay, I've wanted to see that for a long time. That movie looks fucking insane.
Yes, we've all seen like GIFs from it, I'm sure, and like moments from it. So that we're planning to cover that one soonish. I still have to rewatch it as of the time we're recording this, but I'm excited. I'm excited to give that one another shot because that movie was it was a lot. So look forward to that coming out soon. All right, I think that's all I got. I think we are done, fellas.
I think we are.
Bye.
I know I'm definitely tired. Bye, everybody.